All right, let's take a look at Costco stock, ticker symbol COST. We will talk a bit about the year-to-date performance and some of the trends that I see with this company, as well as valuation. Now, in terms of near term, we've seen that they have barely performed year-to-date in terms of just stock price. We can see up 0.61% here year-to-date for this roughly 400 billion market cap company. So what gives? Well, if we look at the latest earnings report, we can see that they missed on the same store sales. So growth coming from opening new stores and a little bit loss on the same store sales sort of KPI here. So that's the reason for the slight dip in stock price. Although if we look at a longer term trend, we can see that this is up and down. Sometimes it beats, sometimes it misses. And in the long term, this tends to smoothen out. The company has performed extremely well. Very strong business model as well, I think. Just thinking around it, the whole requiring a membership to go into to do the shopping. I think measures like this are becoming more and more important, as that could help mitigate retail theft, having membership, potentially having it revoked if you get caught shoplifting a lot. I think in terms of modern day America, having such a business structure in place can be very profitable. And we see this in the margins as well, where some other retailers have suffered heavily. This has not been the case for Costco. All right, let's take a look at valuation before we go into the margins and look at revenue as well. In terms of historical revenue, we can look at price to earnings here, because this is a mature company. It's been around for a very long time. And in terms of growth, it's not all over the place. So even trailing price to earnings gives a good valuation measure. The price to earnings ratio has been steadily increasing for this company. Although as of late, as we saw, the price to earnings was 50 something on the trailing basis for Costco. In terms of historical range, this is quite expensive. So the company right now could potentially be a bit overvalued, and it could risk that it will have just below market performance going forward. Although, as we've seen year to date, they have not performed that strongly. So perhaps it's time for some overperformance once again, if they can manage to turn this trend around with the stock market performance. As of now, still a bit expensive just using this metric. In terms of the revenues, they continue to grow. They are a bit all over the place in terms of growth, although there's a clear trend. It's been going on for quite some time, and it's not just the growth in revenue that's telling the full story here, but the margins. The margins is what I found to be very interesting when I did my research into this company. Just taking a look at gross margin, we can see that it has gone up and down. However, in terms of operational efficiency, the clear trend here has been increasing operating margin. So, gross basically on a product level, and then with operational, we add in the cost of stores, the salaries for the people working at the Costco, all of these kind of things. And then net, we add in financing and all of this as well. So that's, the true bottom line. Although operation here, man, they've been climbing for a long time, just increasing. And this is the power of scale. The power of having a logistics network for a large amount of stores nationwide that everybody can benefit on, for having a system in place, for having targeted national advertising campaigns. It's just a benefit of size. So with operating margins increasing, net margin increasing, well, earnings are of course increasing. So perhaps baked into this stock price of current price to earnings ratio is that, all right, we see this revenue growth, we see increasing earnings, that's been the trend. So perhaps some analysts that are looking at this stock, perhaps they are loving it just for that reason. All right, we're seeing not only top line growth, but also bottom line growth in this case. But does that really justify a trailing price to earnings of 50? I don't think so. I think that there are better stocks out there for building wealth. However, for preserving wealth, then this company is way more interesting. A small dividend and just very, very stable growth, very stable performance, amazing benefits of scale. All in all, a good company. I would place this into the category of companies like, for example, Movi, who's doing the salmon farming over there in Norway. Just stable, boring business in this case. Yeah, this one could be a potential buy for me once I have some offshore tax structure in place and can sell off some growth stocks. Then once I get to preserving wealth rather than just expanding it, as we have with the current portfolio, well then Costco could definitely be a potential investment in that portfolio. Alright, that's been it for this video, talking a bit about Costco, and as always, hope you guys make a ton of money, whatever investments you decide to make. Take care now, bye bye.